Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to do a quick tech check with Rochelle Straker and Jack Lee. Rochelle, everything looking good?
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, welcome on this day where we're beginning this new semester in a unique way that I don't think any of us could have ever foreseen 6 or 7 months ago. And regardless of how challenging this is a time that I'm also filled with a lot of gratitude. Got a remarkable staff here at the McCormack Graduate School in UMass Boston that have weathered the crazy ups and downs of this last summer, assuring people to be part of the programs, assuring our systems would all be working in this remote environment. And big kudos to our staff here. So thank you very much. And you'll meet a lot of them later today. And of course, huge kudos to the faculty who, on a dime, I think between March 12th and March 18th, had to figure out how to go from doing face-to-face teaching to remote teaching. And we're incredibly successful at it. And then worked throughout the summer to assure that our curriculum and our classes and our pedagogy would all provide students with the most excellent education that they can get. And that's been a true honor to work with this team. I also want to welcome returning students. Fantastic to see. I see a lot of familiar faces. That's great. Welcome back. I hope you had a productive summer and a relaxing summer. And of course, welcome to the new students. It's wonderful to have you part of our community. And especially during this time, it's been high on our agenda to figure out how to build community when we're looking at a dozen or 16 boxes on our screen. And that's something that we all have to strive to continue to do. And we'll talk some about that as well. I also want to remark about this unique time that we're all in. We're still in the midst, without a really clear end in sight, of this global pandemic that we've been caught up in that impacts our lives in myriad ways, whether it's being on a Zoom like this, or for those of you whose families, loved ones have struggled, who've gotten sick, who've even died, who have experienced economic hardship. This is a really difficult time for us as a community, for us as individuals, for us as a country, and for our global community. And that's a context we can't ignore. We, of course, can't ignore the intersecting context, certainly in this country, that stemmed from the murder of George Floyd earlier this summer, and the reckoning that this country is getting with its racial injustices that go back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and something that we're still struggling with, that still challenges us as a people, as humans who are trying to make our way in this world. And I've said this, I've been to a number of the orientations in different departments and different programs, and one of the things that has struck me is that in this time, there are many ways to look at these challenges that I've just mentioned, but I can't help it, given my career and my interests, looking at it through a policy lens. And all of these issues are issues that can be addressed, should have been addressed, through wise and thoughtful policy. And what undergirds wise and thoughtful policy is analysis and comparison and understanding, and tools for figuring out what equity means, tools for figuring out how peoples can be empowered. And those are all things that we're learning here. Those are all things that we explore. Those are all things that our faculty are experts in. And it's a pretty amazing time to be at a policy school, especially in the midst of this context, because, as I mentioned, these are areas where solutions can be crafted and the challenges themselves can be understood using the tools that you're learning here. So in that regard, this is a unique opportunity that all of us have. But part of this welcome is trying to understand who we are. And we're going to spend a chunk of time today discussing who we are, what we do, who are the people in our community, et cetera. So we have a program for the next hour and a half, and there'll be introductions, there'll be time at the end for Q&A. We have a moment that'll be coming up soon where our new chancellor, Chancellor Marcelo Suarez Orozco, we have a video of him. He was not able to make it in person, but we're very excited to listen to that. And then we'll explore all the various parts of McCormack and what we do and how we do it and how you can get engaged. So we're very excited about that. And let me just start at one place, and that is our namesake. So you've been looking up at the picture of John W. McCormack. He was a child of immigrants in South Boston and grew up in the face of poverty, lost siblings to various diseases that ran rampant through the tenements and poor houses in Boston, and miraculously worked his way up in a variety of different jobs to eventually become part of solutions. He was in the Massachusetts legislature, then in the US House of Representatives, and ultimately rose to the highest position within the House and was Speaker of the House in the 1960s. He had been in many leadership positions before that. And part of what's remarkable about him, and there are many of you, and I would bet most of you have never even heard of him. In fact, I worked in Massachusetts state government for 10 years, and I worked in the John W. McCormack building, which is right on Beacon Street, didn't really know what and who he was. And it turns out he was one of those leaders who's humble and gets the job done. And it's pretty remarkable when you read of his history of all of the things that he was engaged with. And you can see here at the bottom, starting in the 1930s, worked on all kinds of important progressive bills on civil rights and economic security, foreign aid, healthcare, education, housing, immigration, which you'll hear our chancellor speak about, voting rights. He was there at the creation of Medicare, Social Security. He was part of the New Deal, LBJ's Great Society. He worked on the science side of things. I mean, just a remarkable, remarkable character who did not like the spotlight on him. In fact, that's been one of the things of, I like quoting people like McCormack, but it's hard to find his quotes because he wasn't that public about what he did. But he was always in the room where it happened, and he always was the legislative right-hand person for presidents going as far back as FDR. So you can see in these pictures, and of course you can see how he aged. The one on the left is during FDR's first or second term. You could see him with FDR much later during the New Deal. There he is with Richard Nixon, with Harry Truman, John Kennedy, and LBJ. And you could see him sitting behind Kennedy and LBJ at their speeches to Congress when he was the Speaker of the House. So a remarkable character, and one who is very proud that we're named after. In many ways, he was ahead of his time, and in many ways, all of the progressive pieces of legislation and policy that we depend on now, he was involved with being an architect of. So it's an honor to be in a school named after him. And it's through that kind of bedrock and the ethos and passion that our faculty bring and that our students and our staff bring that we have our mission. And that is that McCormack equips its future leaders with the tools to enhance governance, strengthen communities, remedy injustices, catalyze change, and improve our planet and the lives of people across generations. Our students, faculty, and staff are known for cutting-edge research and practice with local, national, and global impact. And by engaging policymakers, decision makers, and community members, we help shape effective policies that create a more equitable and sustainable and peaceful world. This is a mission statement that we recrafted about 3 or 4 years ago with the McCormack community, faculty, students, and staff contributing to this. And it's one that I think that we adhere to in our teaching, in our research, and in our engagement. And with that, it's a good segue because the new chancellor will discuss some about this, but as you'll see from his speech, It's hard to imagine a chancellor that that doesn't grasp what our ethos is about better than he. So, Rochelle, if we can switch to the chancellor, that'd be great.
Good morning, Beacons. It is a real pleasure to join the McCormack community in celebrating the beginning of a new academic year. It is also a deep, deep personal honor for me, an immigrant, first generation to college, transfer student, to have the gift of a lifetime to serve the UMass Boston community as your new chancellor. I am deeply humbled by the extraordinary opportunity and monumental responsibility to serve you now and moving forward. As we face the grave threats of 3 concurrent pandemics, one biological, COVID-19, one socioeconomic, the invasion of inequality into nearly every domain of economy and society, and one cultural, the transgenerational continuity over the centuries of anti-Black racism and xenophobia, we redouble our call to make higher education the indispensable tool to undo the 3 pandemics and to embark together in the journey to build a more equitable, humane, and sustainable world. Personally, for me, this challenge is the culmination of a lifetime in academia working to understand and drive societies toward social justice. There is one organic connection to McCormack that I had not fully realized until recently. Your namesake, John W. McCormack, through his own family experience, understood that the United States is a country where, other than our indigenous brothers and sisters, immigrants, voluntary and involuntary, have built the foundations and revitalized our institutions, economy, and society over the generations. John McCormack was a champion of humane, rational, and smart immigration policy. As a son of immigrants in Boston, he realized that immigration and what it means to our country, and devoted his career as a leader in Congress to making sure the doors to American prosperity remained open to immigrants. Our country offered new immigrants prosperity, and our immigrants reciprocated with gusto. We continue to reap enormous benefits from a history of immigration to Boston, to the Commonwealth, and to the United States. Indeed, today we live better, we have better literature, arts, and science, we eat better, we dress better, we dance better because of the last 200 years of immigration to our country. As an immigrant myself, I have benefited from the endeavors of John W. McCormack in the area of immigration legislation. We know that we start this academic year in a unique and fraught time, but one ripe with opportunity. Of the many lessons drawn from the last 6 months, one is that policy matters, that governance matters, that the natural and social sciences matter, that public service matters, that empowering the disempowered matters, that Black lives matter. We need you now more than ever. We need better data, better argumentation, better policy work than ever before. You are embarking on a unique year of teaching, learning, and research and engagement in the only public policy school in our region. As I learn more about the different schools at UMass Boston, I am inspired, as I hope you are, by McCormack's mission, so suited for this time. And now I quote, "The McCormack Graduate School equips future leaders with tools to enhance governance, strengthen communities, remedy injustices, catalyze change, and improve our planet and the lives of people across generations. Our students, faculty, and staff are known for cutting-edge research and practice with local, national, global impact. By engaging policymakers, decision makers, and community members, we help shape effective policies that create a more equitable, sustainable, and peaceful world." End of quote. I look forward to joining you on the new journey this year.
Thank you. Thank you, Rochelle, for teeing that up. And I will let the Chancellor know how grateful we are that he took time to greet us in this kind of way. I will say that he met with faculty and department chairs and center directors last week as we had our annual retreat. And I think it's very easy to say from what you saw here and what we heard that his ethos and his passion for equity and social justice align so perfectly with our mission. And so it's a pleasure to have him now as part of our community. I'm sure there'll be opportunities in the future of us interacting more directly with him. So let me move on. If I can get my slides to advance, just to kind of delve a little bit into who we are. And of course, we are scholars. At bedrock, we know that evidence and research should guide wise policy. And that's what we do as scholars. But we're also action researchers, devoted to making change, devoting to working with decision makers, devoting to ourselves to working with communities, policymakers, legislators, executive branch people. That's what we do. Underlying this all is we're learners. The students are not the only learners here. We are all learners. The staff are learners and faculty are learners. That's, as you'll hear later, we fully embrace lifelong learning. As you'll hear, a part of our community are folks who are beyond their careers and still learning. We're community engagers. We work closely with communities to do the kind of research that they find helpful, that they find empowering. And we are conveners. You'll hear about a variety of different ways that we are the hub of important policy discussions in the state and in the nation and even in the globe. And as the Chancellor noted, we're the only public policy school in Boston. And with that comes a responsibility to the public that I think is very different than if you're in a private policy school. So let's start by meeting some of the folks who are part of our community. And let me start with our office. You've heard from Rochelle a moment ago, but the Dean's office is here to serve the departments and the centers, the students, the faculty. In the best of worlds, we see ourselves as providing tailwind for all of you to succeed and reach your goals and objectives. And this is a picture from last week. We had a small happy hour. It's been pretty remarkable. Staff have been working all summer to make sure that this last week and this week would get off without a hitch. So you heard from Rochelle, our Director of Academic Programs and Events. Thank you, Rochelle. She makes sure all of this works smoothly and all of the events are fantastically done. And then she works closely, as you'll hear, with Associate Dean Kiki Adozi on academic programming as well. Bob Turner, our research fellow who works on communications. Liz Diaz, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but she's the executive assistant to me, but also works on a million different kinds of projects and programs. Dennis Lee, unfortunately, is not able to be here today, but he works on grant support and special projects. Jack Lee is a program assistant and works really closely with Rochelle on events and other things, and he works on our monthly newsletter. Jamie Tull, in the middle of the pictures here, is the college business coordinator. You'll often have to work with her on things like reimbursements and invoices and things like that. Thank you, Jamie. Carlos Enriquez is the assistant dean of budget and operations. So again, anything finance or HR or how the trains operate here, it would be in Carlos's bailiwick. And Chris Brindley, our IT coordinator. So making sure all of our computers work. And I gotta say, it's been a kind of interesting summer where he's been making sure that faculty's laptops are all working, and they often, because of the pandemic, meet in parking lots at malls to exchange laptops and things like that. And Chris goes above and beyond. And of course, our Associate Dean and Professor Kiki Adozi. You'll be hearing from her in a little bit. So that's the Dean's office. You're welcome to reach out to any of us at any time. We're easily accessible. and want to make sure that that we can serve you so that you can reach your goals as best as you can. Okay, let's meet some other folks. We have 3 academic departments here, each of whom has at least one master's program and a PhD program. And let's start with an introduction of the Public Policy and Public Affairs Department with the chair, Professor Michael Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. I'm professor and chair of the Department of Public Policy and Public Affairs. Our department was formed in 2006, around the time the McCormack Graduate School was created from the former McCormack Institute. Our department has a Master of Public Administration, Public Policy PhD, and certificate program in Gender Leadership and Public Policy. We have 9 tenure stream faculty and 2 non-tenure stream faculty who are directors of centers, the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy and the Center for Social Policy, both of whom have work that is closely aligned with our department's mission. We have about 110 active students across our 3 programs. Each year, we typically produce about 15 to 20 MPA grads, 3 to 6 PhDs, and about 15 to 20 GLPD grads. This past year, I think we set a record. We had 16 PhD grads across the May and August graduation dates. We're a graduate student-centered department, but we regularly teach undergraduates through courses in the Honors College and the Political Science Department's Public Policy minor. What keeps us going, I think, is this. Our society faces many challenges. We know these very well, but the communities that comprise our department, I believe, are really well positioned to work together to face these challenges through belief in the power of good government to improve the lives of individuals and communities, value-based inquiry, policy insights and recommendations based on data and empirical analysis, and a willingness to learn, to revise our knowledge based on new data, new theory, and new findings. Whether it's insights on educational reform in Nepal, urban youth development, policy failures associated with a national census, in Chile, mind you, not in the US, homelessness services, financialization of higher education, our students are creating knowledge to move our society forward. I welcome all of you to this event. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. Our next department is gerontology, and the chair is Professor Jeff Burr.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new academic year. As David says, I'm a professor and chair in gerontology. We have several programs. Our gerontology PhD was established in 1989 and accepted its first students in 1990. We also have a research policy master's track, which is a fully on-land, typical traditional program. Those 2 programs are directed by Professor Eddie Miller. We have a second master's program called the Management of Aging Services, which is fully online, intentionally, and that is directed by Ellen Burchander. We also have an undergraduate program that was revised from an earlier one. The revised version was rolled out in 2017. That's directed by Professor Beth Dugan. We receive great staff support from Michelle Campbell, Martin Hansen-Burma, and Josie Sturgis. They not only help run the gerontology department programs, but they are also the support staff for the Gerontology Institute, which you'll be hearing about in a little bit. We had quite robust enrollments this year, despite expectations that enrollments might be down at universities, at least in McCormack and gerontology specifically, we're doing well. And that's partly due to the hard work of the program directors and the staff, so a shout out to them. Remote learning is challenging. We entered it last spring, as David said, and now we're going full bore this fall. We can tackle those challenging issues. One of the things that's more difficult that I hope everybody will think about and act on is preserving our sense of community. Mm-hmm. That's a hallmark of gerontology, and we need to figure out as students, as faculty, and as staff, how we can maintain that through these challenging times. So I encourage everyone to think about that, to be planful and be proactive. And certainly as a department, we're going to be trying different things in order to keep that going. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And our last academic department is the Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance, and our new chair, who just started as chair this last week. So please welcome Professor Stacy Vanderveer.
Hello, welcome, welcome. It's great to be up and running for a new semester. Again, we are affectionately known as the department with the long name, Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance. We run 5 degree programs, doctorate in Global Governance and Human Security, master's degree also in Global Governance and Human Security, master's degree in International Relations, which we co-organize and co-teach and co-run with our partners in Political Science Department, and a conflict resolution program. We also have a Global Affairs undergraduate all online program that has been at UMass Boston for several years, but it is newly added to our department over the last year. So that gives us a kind of a rounded out set of programs. We also have had a pretty good year of student recruiting, so welcome to all of you new students out there. We're quite pleased with the numbers and in those programs for new students and continuing students. It's been a very uncertain year, so we're really thrilled that sometimes even at the last minute, you decided to jump in and say yes and dive into a new graduate program. So welcome, welcome. There are very research active faculty. There are 2 research centers and 2 other affiliated centers with the department. There's the Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development, that's run by Professor Darren Koo, and the Center for Governance and Sustainability, directed by Professor Maria Ivanova. Also affiliated with our department are the Moakley Chair of Peace and Reconciliation, the Moakley Chair is Padre Gomali, and the Mass Office of Public Collaboration, which is also sort of newly affiliated with our department over the last year and a half or so. All of the research centers are offering fantastic opportunities for research. All of them engaged to some extent, both public engagement and the students in the department. So they're all on the website and they're all linked there. My faculty are very happy to welcome you and reach out if you want to talk to any of them. Welcome.
Thank you, Stacy. That was an excellent segue to learning about our institutes and centers. We have quite a few at McCormack, and they've historically been one of the ways that we link the research and academic missions on campus to the world outside campus. And he had mentioned 2 of them. We'll hear from them in a moment. But let's start with learning about the Gerontology Institute. And I know that Len Fishman, the director of it, couldn't be here today. So I believe Professor Jan Muchler will be telling us about the Institute. So Jan?
Great, thanks. Yeah, Len said he was sorry he couldn't be with us all today, but he asked me to tell you just a little bit about the Gerontology Institute. The Gerontology Institute was established by the Massachusetts legislature in 1984, so it actually predates the department that we're associated with. But it is closely intertwined with the Gerontology department that Jeff Burr described a minute ago. For example, all of the department faculty are fellows of the Institute, and as well, a large share of the doctoral students are supported by grants that are run through the Institute. One way you can think about it is that the Institute serves as the research and the service arm of the department, and the department serves as the teaching arm of the Institute. So I just want to highlight that they really are very closely intertwined. The Gerontology Institute includes 4 centers that you're going to hear about separately, and those are listed here, but they include the Pension Action Center, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, the Leading Age LTSS Center at UMass Boston, and the Center for Social and Demographic Research on Aging. But there's a lot of work and research that happens outside of those centers, and the Institute also serves and supports research that's done by gerontology faculty, fellows, and affiliates outside the center. So Len would have said, welcome to the new academic year, and I will share that with you. Do you want me to just continue?
Go right into the
Okay.
your center.
Okay, so I'm also, in addition to being a faculty member in gerontology, I'm a director of the Center for Social and Demographic Research on Aging. And we established this center in 2012. Our goal is to conduct research that informs communities and organizations as they plan for aging populations, and that broadly contribute to the knowledge base on social, economic, and demographic aspects of aging in community. We have 4 primary areas of work, and they all relate to healthy aging in communities. We carry out work on senior centers and what they bring to communities. So we work specifically on what senior centers do, but also how they contribute to well-being of residents. We do a lot of work with age-friendly initiatives and how they operate and contribute to well-being. And we work on a number of topics related to the demography of aging. In addition, we do quite a lot of work on economic security, including work on the Elder Index, which is a cost of living measure for older adults that we calculate county by county for the entire US. And the map illustrates an example of things that we can learn using the Elder Index. It essentially shows the extent to which the average Social Security benefit covers cost of living. And if you squint, you can see that there's no county in the US where Social Security actually covers cost of living. Our work is funded by grants and contracts from many organizations and foundations. We work with national organizations like AARP. We work with the State Office of Elder Affairs and the City of Boston and aging organizations throughout the state. In addition to me, we have a full-time researcher, 1 full-time project manager, 2 part-time research associates, 6 doctoral students, and 3 undergraduates who work with us. So we're busy, we do a lot of work, and we'd love to hear about the interest that the new students have in this type of work. So welcome to everybody to the new year.
Thank you so much, Jan. Our next Gerontology Institute Center is the Leading Age Long-Term Support Services Center at UMass Boston. Mark Cohen, Director. Let's hope Mark is here.
Oops, is he not here?
If he's not, then we'll move on and we can catch up later. Okay. Let's see. I thought I saw Jim, the OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute.
Yes, good morning, McCormack family. I hope everyone is doing well as we begin this wonderful new academic year that is full of challenges, but as well as opportunities. The OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute, we are in our 21st year of offering academic and social programs to older adults within the Boston communities, as well as the South Shore. Majority of our members are between the ages of 65 to 80, and we truly embrace part of our mission, which is learning for the love of it. And our members truly are taking this to heart, especially in the time of COVID, as we are, like everyone else, has switched to our remote courses and our online learning. And we're very excited and pleased when our members are really taking this to heart, as we have provided training for over 300 members on the basics of Zoom. And we are offering over 55 courses, as well as 35 presentations and special events over the fall semesters. So it'll be a very busy online semester for our OLLI community, and we actually just started courses this morning. I have 2 wonderful staff members, Andrew, who's our office manager, and Jenny, who's our part-time program coordinator, who works a lot with our course facilitators and our brown bag presenters. We also have a great working relationship with McCormack and the Gerontology Program and Institute due to our OLLI Scholar Program. The OLLI Scholars are current graduate students at UMass Boston, and they apply for and teach OLLI courses for our members, and our members truly enjoy the experience of learning from our OLLI Scholars, as it provides a great intergenerational opportunity for them. So that's just a little bit about the OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute, and we look forward to learning with the rest of the McCormack family on how this semester is going to unfold.
Great. Thank you so much, Jim. And I just got a chat from Professor Pam Nadesh, who will talk about the LTSS Center. So Pam, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna do this on the fly in replacement for Mark, but the LTSS Center is headed by Mark Cohen, who's the co-director with somebody named Robin Stone, who works at Leading Age. Leading Age is the leading nonprofit. It represents nonprofit service provider organizations for older people, and it's a national organization that has national influence and many members across the country. But they also have a research center that's very well respected. So because our interests align, the folks at UMass Boston who work on LTSS issues, and when I talk about LTSS, that means long-term services and supports. So that's everything from nursing homes to services in assisted living facilities or low-income senior housing, or in the home. So any kind of services that support older people who need assistance and help. So it's a public policy area that needs national attention. So we're partnering too with Mark Cohen's job is split between UMass Boston and Community Catalyst, which is the national organization for consumer advocates. And so what we do is partner on a whole range of research projects that promote access to long-term services and supports nationally. And this covers everything from a range of evaluation projects to assessing policy on LTSS. So I think that's probably a good overview.
Great. Thank you so much, Pam. And I really appreciate you stepping up. Thanks. Our last Gerontology Institute Center is the Pension Action Center. Anna Tabor is the director of that. So Anna.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see all of you and especially the students. We've missed you. So the Pension Action Center is a free legal services program. We help people, mostly older workers and retirees who are having problems, excuse me, getting the pension benefits that they have earned. Our service area includes New England and also Illinois. And in 2019, just to give you a sense of the sort of scope of the work that we do, we helped over 450 people, and we also recovered benefits for our clients that were worth about $1.9 million, and that's just in 2019. We operate a free helpline, and we also provide free representation to people who need an attorney to help them to get their pension benefits. We also work with volunteers. We have a wonderful group of dedicated volunteers. And we also have students, both undergraduate students and graduate students, who help us with the work that we do. So if you have an interest in retirement security issues, retirement financial equity, please feel free to reach out to me or to our staff attorney, Tyler Compton. We would love to talk with you and see if we can work together. And finally, I wanted also to mention that we are celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. We've postponed our big event due to COVID-19. It was supposed to take place in May. It's now going to be taking place virtually on October 6th. So please keep an eye out for that. We would love to have you join us to learn more about our center.
Great. Thank you so much, Anna. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit and learn about two centers that Stacy Vanderveer had mentioned. The first is the Center for Peace, Democracy, and Development, and that's headed up by Professor Darren Q. Darren?
Hi, everybody. David, thank you. I want to say thanks to the college and to everyone there, and to our folks in the Department of Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance, who provide really important support for the center. The center is focused on four sort of large thematic areas. First and foremost is conflict and peace work worldwide, focused particularly on identity conflict. So we have project work in West Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America on issues of identity and conflict, but also here in the greater Boston area, we've done a lot of work on race issues as well as immigration and conflict issues. So those of you who are focused in domestic US policy issues, you may find that of interest. In addition, we have a project area in restorative justice. working in prisons in the greater Boston area. So folks interested in restorative justice may want to check out our website. And then also we have a third project area focused on global health policy, headed up by Professor Courtney Sprague, which in particular does work on HIV-related policy and has some really interesting work in the southern United States, in addition to Southern Africa. And then lastly, we have a large number of projects on democracy deepening work that's focused in Rwanda and a few other places around the world. So check out our website. Folks in the Conflict Resolution, Human Security, and Global Governance Department heard me speak at length about this, but folks in the other two departments, if you're interested in some of these areas I've mentioned, please do check out our website and drop me a note, and I'd be very happy to connect you to some of the senior fellows and faculty members working on issue areas of interest to you. Thanks again.
Thanks, Darren. And the other center in that department is the Center for Governance and Sustainability, and that's headed up by Professor Maria Ivanova.
Greetings, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here virtually in the room where McCormack School is gathering. I'm delighted to introduce the Center for Governance and Sustainability, which seeks to be a rigorous analyst and an intellectual hub for work that is policy-driven and academically rigorous, that informs decision makers from the local to the global level on areas in terms of environment and sustainability. We seek to be also an honest broker and are called often by various governments to convene events and meetings where countries discuss in the same setting issues of the international institutions and the implementation of international environmental agreements. So the main areas on which we currently operate is the analysis of the function and sometimes dysfunction of international institutions, focusing on the UN and the United Nations Environment Program. And the second major area is the implementation of multilateral environmental agreements that are focusing on the issues of conservation and on the issues of pollution. To this end, we have been convening, as I mentioned, a lot of dialogues in person. Now in this remote environment, governments and the United Nations are actually reaching out and asking us to create the online version of learning. So we are starting to create online training courses and workshops and would appreciate your input, your ideas, and I'm delighted to see many of our research associates at the center here today, and they would be glad to connect if you're interested. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Maria. Our next center is the Center for Social Policy, and I believe Susan Crandall is on the line. She was. Let's see. Okay, we'll take a break. If she comes back, we'll get her on. Next is the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy, and I believe Lori Nasai Jefferson is here to tell us about that.
Oh, she's not going to be able to make it. She's having internet problems.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Hi, David. If you want,
great.
I could say a few
Please,
words.
Muna.
Yeah.
Yep, go for it, Muna. Thank you.
Okay,
Introduce yourself and then take it away.
Okay. Hi, I'm Muna Killingbeck. I'm the Assistant Program Director at CWPPP, working with the Gender Leadership and Public Policy Graduate Certificate Program. So can you share the screen with me for a second? Can I share?
I'm not, well, let's see, Rochelle is on that, but I'm not sure. So maybe you should just go ahead without that.
Okay, or I'll just tell you a little bit about.
Yeah, just give us the 1-minute intro to the center and what it does. That'd be great.
Okay, great. Well, our center has a graduate program, as I mentioned, the Gender Leadership and Public Policy Graduate Certificate Program, and we're very happy that we have a very large cohort this year of about 32 or 33 people. Some are part-time, but We also do some really cutting edge research about women's representation and the gendered impacts of different kinds of policy. And lastly, we organize a lot of conferences and events to highlight women who have achieved significant impact in politics, in the world of politics and public policy, as role models, and to share their experiences with our students and with the general public, in fact. So might I be able to ask one of our current students to say hi to you as well?
Sure, who, yeah, sure.
Leigh Andrea, Leigh, where is Leigh?
Hi.
There's Leigh. Hi, Leigh. You want to say a word about the program for everyone since you're in it?
Hi everyone, I am very happy to participate in this event and to say that it has been an honor for me to be part of the program. I took some courses last semester, and I will say that I learned a lot from political worlds of women. So yeah, I'm encouraged like every student to be part of the GLPP program. Yeah, and check also the masters that are very interesting for us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go on to the, wait, Muna, we need to move on to the next one.
Sure, okay, good.
So that's okay. I hope Michael Ward is here from the Edward Collins Center for Public Management. And if he's not, we will move on to the next. Let's see, Susan Jagalian, the director of the Massachusetts Office of Public Collaboration.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving us a chance, David, to introduce ourselves. I'm looking forward to getting to know folks this semester. My name is Susan Jagalian. I'm the executive director of the Mass Office of Public Collaboration, otherwise known as MOPC, and we are a unique or unusual type of center in that we are both an applied research center of the McCormack Graduate School, but also the statutory state office for dispute resolution for the Commonwealth. And we actually came to campus in 2006, and we then joined McCormack in 2015. So we're kind of new to the group. And we do have affiliations with the Conflict Resolution, Human Security and Global Governance Department, as well as the Public Policy and Public Administration Department. Our mission is to assist the three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, with the resolution of disputes and in building capacity and programming for dispute resolution. So we design and operate public dispute resolution programs, and we deliver trainings for public employees. We also assist public leaders with convening consensus building and public engagement processes. And we qualify dispute resolution practitioners to serve on public contracts. We have a research unit that does research and evaluation of our public programs to demonstrate impact and return on investment. We teach a course on collaborative governance for the Masters in Public Administration program, and we sponsor graduate assistantships and internships. We also oversee the statutory community mediation system for Massachusetts. So we award state operating grants to 12 local community mediation centers across the state, and they deliver free and low-cost mediation services through trained volunteers to families, schools, businesses, courts, et cetera. Right now, we are working together with the courts and public agencies to develop a housing mediation program that can help manage the flood of evictions that is expected due to the COVID-19 impacts when the current housing moratorium is lifted in the coming months. So that's a big new project we have. We are connected to national networks in the field of mediation, dispute resolution, collaborative governance, and public deliberation. And we love working with students. So if any of you have heard something of interest to you, please do give us a call. Please contact us. I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And I do think we got Susan Crandall back on the line. So Susan, can you tell us about the Center for Social Policy?
Sure. Thanks so much, Dean Cash. So my name is Susan Crandall, and I'm the director of the Center for Social Policy and also affiliate faculty with the Department of Public Policy. The Center for Social Policy, we're an applied research and evaluation center, and we work on a variety of issues, all related to social and economic equity and social, economic, and racial equity and poverty. And some of the issues that we work on include workforce development, the social determinants of health, housing instability and homelessness. We're doing work right now in response to COVID. We also work with a lot of students. They typically are part of our center as graduate students or as part of our Worthy Intern program or put on grant-funded projects. Our alums that have gone through and the Center for Social Policy, and typically lines them up for some excellent job opportunities. So our recent alums are working in places such as UC San Francisco, Boston Public Schools, City of Boston, and the Boston Federal Reserve, the Bank of Boston. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. And I know that Porag O'Malley is not here to talk about the Moakley Chair for Peace and Reconciliation. But I hope one of the pictures that you're getting is that we do a vast array and a wide portfolio of different kinds of work, community engaged research that drives what many different organizations are doing. And I hope what you got a sense of, although we didn't say it explicitly, is that this work is interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary. Faculty and students from any of our 3 departments already do work, and you are welcome to work in any number of these centers. And in fact, we reach beyond McCormack. We have lots of collaborations with the other colleges on campus, whether it's the School for Environment or the College of Nursing and Health Sciences or College of Liberal Arts. We have faculty who teach in our program, and I believe that I saw Professors Erin O'Brien and Professor Paul Cowart from the Political Science Department who teach in our programs and engage with our students as well. So welcome to them. So I want to make it really clear that you can't understand and solve policy problems in a silo. And so you're welcome to look at any of these kinds of activities that are going on. Okay, let me shift gears a little bit more and move to the Dean's office. There are a whole host of initiatives that come out of the Dean's office, and Associate Dean Kiki Adozi, who's also a professor in the Conflict Resolution Department, is the driver on these. Her creativity and innovation and energy is fantastic, and she's going to tell us a little bit about these 4 big initiatives and introduce herself. So, Professor Adozi. I believe she's unmuting.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Let me join the Dean in welcoming you to what is really a sort of intriguing year, academic year 2021. As I, at least, try to make sense of the moment, its tragedy, its complexity, but most importantly, the space that it gives us for transformation, good or bad. I ask myself, and I ask you, what is our place in it? And I think the Dean put it well when he read from our mission statement. One line that stood out to me: we improve our planet and lives of people across generations. So I've been using music a lot these days to sort of reflect on our world, and the 35-year-old classic song, "We Are the World," really stood out to me. I don't think we're going to get a chance to play it today, unfortunately, but there are these words that I just want to share with you. 35 years ago, this is what we in America, this was our message to the world. There comes a time when we heed the call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying, but what is our place in it? So, okay, let me move on to the things that I'm going to talk about, what the Dean's office does and what I have oversight over. Faculty affairs, curriculum affairs, and student affairs. Could we go to the next slide, Michelle?
I got it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, our biggest initiative is impacting on our student success. And about 2 years ago, we created this great program called the Dean's Office Student Success Program, DOS. Several things that we do, college-wide, multi-layered advising from the faculty member to the GPD, to the chair, and all the way up to the associate dean and to the dean. We have peer review, ambassador representation for you students to have a say in the governance and programming of the college. The professional development workshops and conferences that we offer you, we're going to offer them again this year. We do have these $500 mini stipends that hopefully when we start traveling, we'll start again. And we started something last year with the Summer Enrichment Graduate Employment Awards, and we hope to do that again. So Dean's Office Student Success is fully on board. And so hopefully the students among us, the new students especially, but existing students as well, takes advantage of this program. Next slide, thank you. And we have a website, guys, please. Okay, the Africa Scholars Forum was not my next slide. It was my
Wait, let me see.
Dean's Office.
There we go. There we go. Sorry.
The Dean's Office Faculty Fund for Advancing Research. We call it DUFFA. We like the acronyms here, but there's a lot of things that we do for faculty, the faculty among us. We want to advance our research mission and grants administration through you. We're providing professional development mini awards, including research travel funds, research productivity and teaching excellence. We have these interdisciplinary, collaborative, cross-campus, cross-department research awards that we're making available to you again. We've also got this special program with the College of Nursing and Health Sciences called our Faculty Interdisciplinary Research Program. The Associate Dean over there calls it FUR. And we have a little faculty event award. So that's for faculty. Now we can go to the Africa Scholars Forum, which was a special cross-campus, again, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary program that we put together for the so-called Africanists at UMass Boston. Africanist is anyone, students or faculty who are interested in doing Africa research. And so we've have a lot of annual programs. This is a research platform for faculty and graduate students. But we have our annual Africa Day, as we saw first one. We've had 2 now. We hope to have a 3rd one this year. The Amilcar Cabral Speaker Series, the Kwanzaa event at the end of the year, and Showcase Ubuntu Student Recognition Ceremony. Got a newsletter called The Talking Drum. We are hoping to launch an African Affairs certificate program, a new online program, so work with us this year as we try to pull it together and launch it. We do a lot of outreach and community engagement, and not just in the immediate community, but in communities, around, the world in Africa. And then we have these mini enrichment awards for students as well. And finally, we have a new program, if we could just go to that last slide. And we're calling that McCormack Racial Equity Task Force. And just to give an acronym, MRET. But hopefully, in line with, this other pandemic that our chancellor talks about, this is racial inequality in our nation and certainly, in our state. We at McCormack also want to sort of leverage that moment to maybe make a contribution. And so our task force will promote racial equity awareness through programming and outreach. We hope to, within McCormack, increase faculty, students, staff of color representation through admissions, appointments, of faculty and staff and students of color. We want to facilitate an equitable racial climate among McCormack College on the one hand and the community on the other. And we hope to diversify the McCormack Policy and Global Studies curriculum to interject, some of the, equity issues that are so dire in our moment today. So that's me from the Dean's office. Welcome again, everyone, and yeah, let's have a great year.
Great, thank you so much, Associate Dean Dozy. It's great to rehear the incredible initiatives that these are doing, and I recommend that anybody jump into these with energy because they're all going to be great. All right, we don't have time for the break. I'm sorry. This is I think I'm breaking one of the cardinal rules of Zooming, which is try not to go more than an hour without a break. But here we are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our research in the next couple of minutes. I just want to kind of paint a picture of McCormack and what we do, so you get a sense of that. Here's a map that shows in the last 5 years the different projects all around the world that your faculty and staff, all of those research centers that you were talking about where research projects have been engaged with. We send, when we do travel, we send our faculty and students all over the world to address all of those kinds of issues that you heard center directors talking about. We are one of the engines of research funding actually on UMass Boston. We have the highest rate of dollars per faculty of any of the colleges on campus. We're very outward looking. And although we see a drop in number of awards in the last year, we've been holding steady about $5 million. And that's almost 10% of the entire university, what the university brings in. And these funds support all that travel that I just showed you around the world. It supports research assistantships for students. It supports our community engagement, how we work with our community members in Boston, in the rest of the country, around the world. And we highly recommend that both as faculty and as students, you get engaged in these kinds of projects. We see one of our roles, particularly as the public policy school, as driving public discussion. And one way to think about that is through our media. Our faculty are very involved in either publishing op-eds, in being interviewed. They're seen as the leaders. So journalists will get in touch with our faculty as the issue demands. And one of the things that's, again, we're very proud of in McCormack is that we punch way above our weight in terms of media impact. So we're roughly 5% of the UMass Boston community, whether you do it as number of faculty or students or budget, but we produce 30% or so of the media hits. And that's on the order of about 1,000 hits per year. But just to show you in the last couple of months, the kinds of issues our faculty have been engaged in and the agility that they have to respond to new crises, new challenges are just the following. Again, these are just a small sampling. We're looking at COVID in South Korea, looking at the gender pay gap. Oops, sorry about that. Issues in Africa, issues about endangered species, traffic in endangered species. What's happening in our nursing homes with COVID, job losses and communities of color. We know that these kinds of, the impacts of COVID economically and health-wise have impacted communities of color much more than others. Even in retirement, race gap continues. E-government, we have expertise in our faculty of e-government around the world. A lot of expertise is in environment and looking at how the US has played a role globally, especially in the last couple of years. We have many of our alums who run for office. And so while we have headlines that talk about our engagement with the globe, we have headlines that show an alum who wins a select board seat. We are very engaged, as mentioned, in environment and climate. One of our collaborators who runs the Sustainable Solutions Lab just won a big leadership prize. And we look at, as has been mentioned by the Chancellor, we look at immigration as one of the sources of things that we look at as well. So again, these are just the most recent media hits, headlines in which our faculty have either published these pieces itself or are interviewed as part of it, that shows how their research is making change. Another way that we are conveners is by hosting debates. And for the last 4 years, we've hosted statewide and local debates for elections. Bob Turner, who's on this call, is one of the chief architects of that. We're really proud that we hosted this debate here that we like to think was one of the bellwethers that brought Ayanna Pressley into Congress. We're shameless about using this as a way to promote McCormack. So of course, if you see this cup down there in the corner, you know, that's one of our John W. McCormack cups. But we've also been engaged in the most, sorry about that. Let me just get us back on track. There we go. We hosted this with WBUR, the Boston Globe, and WCVB TV. We hosted the latest Senate Democratic debate a couple of weeks ago. And what we always try to do with these debates is get the questions of faculty and staff and students into the debates themselves. And it's been pretty exciting in the last 2 rounds of debates that our students were chosen to videotape questions. And so you can see, for example, one of our doctoral students, Crystal Gale O'Neill, on the video in the back who asked a question. Natalie Shalito asked a question. She's a PhD student in gerontology. And Osagi Hegi, an MPA student in the public policy department, asked a question about climate change in the first debate early this year. So we really try to get our students engaged in these civic discussions that are happening. We also bring to campus our congressional delegation. We started a series last year, which got derailed because of COVID, where our goal is every year to invite members of our congressional delegation, our House of Representatives, and our senators on campus. The goal is to get 2 to 4 per year coming through and meeting. We've had really good small meetings of 40 to 50 students who get to have a great conversation with these various members of Congress. And our goal is to just keep cycling through and getting close attention to the work that they're doing in Washington or the work that they're doing in other parts of the state. And then it's been critically important that we build our community. This event is only one of those, but we hold McCormack-wide events and then outside events. And I just want to highlight a couple of those. One is you'll be seeing our Pizza and Policy. That's we roughly have one of these per month. When they're in person, it's a place on campus. We have pizza. We have informal conversations about the policy or politics of the day. And we will continue doing these virtually. We had one right after COVID hit last year that was very successful. And the next one is Wednesday, October 7th. So mark that on your calendar. But we also host a wide range of public events. And I'm not even putting all the consortia and symposia and events that are done by the departments and the centers. There are many, many, many. But the Dean's Office also sponsors some. And there are a couple that are coming up soon. In fact, the soonest one is tomorrow. The Wood Lecture is one of our signature events where we bring experts from all over the world to talk about policy important issues. And we're really excited tomorrow that we have Yamiche Alcindor, who'll be talking about truth amid a pandemic and racial reckoning. So that's super exciting. I believe that Rochelle is posting links so you can go to register right now. That's tomorrow at 11 a.m. We're really excited about that. Another one coming up soon is another one about truth, speaking truth to power when power does not want truth. Robert Draper is an author and most recently had a really hard-hitting article in the New York Times Magazine a couple of weeks ago. We're really lucky to have him here. And Margaret Pennock, who's a former CIA chief of station, and that's just a week from tomorrow. So very excited about that. And the third one is a Sustainable Solutions Lab one. We hold these quarterly fora, and this one is focusing on politics. We don't talk about politics much at this forum. We talk about engineering and policy solutions and economics. And so this is going to be a very exciting one. The first panel is going to be moderated by Mary Skelton Roberts, who's one of the civic leaders in Boston on climate change. She drives the climate change funding out of the Barr Foundation. She'll be moderating. And we have Randy Abro, who is AOC's chief policy person, Jackie Patterson, who's the NAACP climate justice lead, and Benji Backer, who leads a conservative group that wants to get climate policy passed using conservative principles. So it should be a really interesting conversation with that. We're very excited to be able to host these kinds of things. And those also are about community building and presenting our expertise and convening. So, well, let's learn. We do have time to learn a little bit about you and all of us who are still on the Zoom. So we're going to try this, which I've never done before. So I'm excited to hand this over to Rochelle. But we have two polls just so we can get a better sense of who we are. So, Rochelle.
Thanks, David.
So,
I just made a launch of the polls, so everyone should
great.
receive.
Just two questions?
Just two questions. Yes, this is the first one about where you see yourself in 5 to 7 years. And Rochelle, can people see the results yet? Do you know?
I muted myself. No, you'll see the results.
Not yet. At the end, great. Oh, actually, both questions are here, so they should answer both questions now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. Almost done. Let's just take another little bit to finish up.
Almost done. I think.
Okay, why don't you, Rochelle? Why don't you display them, and I have a question for some folks. Okay, great. Folks, you can just nod your head. You can see these now. Everybody can see them. Great. So we're an academic institution, large PhD programs. So it's not a surprise that a large percentage see themselves going into academia and education. But a really interesting kind of crosscut of where people see themselves. And I'd love to hear from particularly new students. You're a new student. Tell us a little bit what you're thinking about, how you see yourself in 5 to 7 years. Oh, it's even easier to like hide on a Zoom than if we were in a room. But I'd love to hear new student, old student. Tell us what your hope is, what your dream is. Just unmute yourself.
Hello, hi, it's Brian Harding here from the PhD program in Global Governance and Human Security. I chose other. I can see myself, it's how do we link between all of these different types of sectors is what we need moving forward. Academia, private sector, NGOs, international organizations, and I hope that the PhD program can really help me to garner even more of those skill sets as we move across in a kind of more transdisciplinary careers as well as research. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, if you need to raise your hand, thank you, Christine. If you need to raise your hand, you can just do that in the participant bar at the bottom. Just click on it and it'll give you an opportunity to raise your hand. But is there someone else, another student? Again, either new student or a continuing student? Why you clicked the area you clicked? You can see from Brian, it's not that hard. Jack Whitaker, go ahead.
So thank you very much. I think I actually had this experience this summer. It was called the Civic Action Project, thanks to Dean Cash, and also thanks to my advisor, Maria Ivanova. And what I did was I worked at the Boston Aquarium. And it was really unique because it was a local institution, but it was focused on global policy issues. And I really liked being embedded in a local community because you could see tangible, concrete reactions, but also having this global perspective really was a nice fusion. So I'd like to be in that space. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jack. Before we move on to the responses to the next question, I'm curious, any of the faculty who are on, oh wait, here we go, Palma. Palma, do you want to talk about this some? Microphone is broken. So you could see in the chat, Palma talked about my actual goal is independently wealthy, but I chose government because I believe in public service. Ask what you can do for your country. Thanks, Palma. So I'm curious, faculty, as you see this distribution of where your students imagine themselves in 5 to 7 years, I'm curious just what your response or thoughts are about that. Anybody jump in?
Well, hi, this is, oh, hold on. Sorry, hi, it's Mark Warren. I'm a professor in the Department of Public Policy and Public Affairs. Well, I think it's great to have the mix of students, interests in our program, and a lot of my work has to do with working in partnership with community organizations, working on racial equity and social justice issues in education and community life. And I do believe that the solutions and the movement to create these kinds of changes is going to come when academics find ways to partner with community organizations, folks in the private sector, and allies and supportive people in government. So, you know, I think it's great that we have this kind of a mix, both of our students and of where people are going. And I hope that as people spoke earlier, it's not just to have these separate areas, but to try to find ways that we can create synergy and connections and relationships and concerted efforts across these sectors. And I hope we can model that, and I think we do model that in our McCormack Graduate School so that people are prepared to do this kind of work when they go forward. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Any other faculty or staff comments?
Well, I chose academia, and I welcome comments about transdisciplinary and sort of cross sectional ways in which we bring together these different sectors. But I also want to make a case for why I love academia so much. Why I see myself being in this discipline for a very long time. The opportunity to shape minds, be it through teaching and research and publishing. So, I just think that academia is just a wonderful, fantastic, dynamic career to have. And for those of you who want to have it, please join us.
Thank you. Any other thoughts?
David, I'll say one thing. This is Erin O'Brien. Hi, all. I totally get the purpose of this, but if you're a student sitting here, I hated this question when I sat down in my doctoral program. Like, I did my doctoral work in DC. I had just moved there, all these people. I didn't even know what that there's an LLM, which is apparently a master's in the law. And this woman next to me is telling me about this degree. And I was like, I just came from undergrad. So my only point is, if you don't have an answer for that, or if you checked a bunch, if you're not sure, that's part of why you're here. We would be out of a job if you knew exactly. So don't be afraid, A, not to have an answer, or B, to change your mind.
Perfect, Erin. I think that's just totally perfect. And for those of you who know my career path, it went from one to the other. And there's that, you know, my other on this was being a shepherd. I was a shepherd for a short time. So that's how wild and wending a career path can take. And you certainly don't know about it at this stage if you first entered. So thank you, Aaron. That was an excellent contribution. Other thoughts? Jeff Pugh, it looks like Jeff Pugh?
Yeah, thank you for raising the question, and I'm sympathetic to Aaron's point too. I would say that it's important for new students coming in to realize this question allowed us to choose more than one. And so one interesting finding here is there are lots of tracks that McCormack community takes. The other interesting finding, I think, that you may not realize just from looking at the graph is people have these different tracks within their own trajectory. So I have an NGO that I work with actively while being an academic, and those two things reinforce each other. Dean Cash, you've been in government service while you were doing research, and that things reinforced each other. We have lots of people among our faculty, certainly, and our students who are actively contributing as practitioners and as academics, and actually those aren't just sort of two things they do. They're mutually reinforcing, and they do both things better as a result. And I think that's what makes our school unique compared to a more traditional kind of academic home that pushes, especially doctoral students, in just one channel and says you're a success if you're a researcher at a tenure track position, R1 university, and not if you're not. And I think I want us to all be very clear that we have a big tent for what success looks like.
Thank you, Jeff. And that's actually a perfect segue to just looking at the next question, which also shows a diversity of our student body and faculty who are answering the same question here. Big tent, the way Jeff said it. I could ask 10 different questions like, and we did this last year, what was your major in college? Or what was the last job that you had, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the strengths of our community is the diversity that we bring to it. The experience, the diversity of experience, of expertise, of perspective. So we have people from all over the world. We have people who have had all kinds of jobs. We've had people who have had all kinds of different education from all kinds of, all parts of the world. And that strengthens our community. That helps us learn from one another. That helps us get perspectives that we otherwise would not have. And so it's very exciting. It always excites me to do these kinds of polls because it just reiterates to me the diversity of folks that we have here. I want to start winding down with something that then also pulls from what Jeff said and what your imaginations of your 5 to 7 years. This is a really, really short list of the kinds of things that McCormack alums do. The first one is about academia, and there's a long, long list of our PhDs who go on to become faculty in small and large public and private universities all over the world. We have folks, have you seen, who are elected officials, who are in the private sector, who are in government at various levels, who are in kind of intergovernmental organizations like the World Bank Group, who are in state government, who are in city government, who are all over the world, all representing all kinds of different jobs. And as I mentioned to you, this is a really small list of all of the kinds of things that McCormack alums go on to do. So you'll be getting a toolbox that you help craft, that your faculty, mentors help craft, that your colleagues in research centers, that your colleagues in NGOs that you intern in, that your colleagues in community groups will all help shape the tools that you leave here with and allow you to embark on your next set of adventures. So with that, I want to wrap up. We're coming up to noon. I very much appreciate everybody taking the time today to be a part of this. And I want to leave you with a quote that those of you who have been in the community for years have heard me say year in and year out, because I'm yet to find a quote that kind of captures what we do here and what we feel is our responsibility. And this is from Marian Wright Edelman, the founder of the Children's Defense Fund, who said, "I was taught that the world had a lot of problems, that I could struggle and change them, that intellectual and material gifts brought the privilege and responsibility of sharing with others less fortunate. And that service is the rent each of us pays for living, the very purpose of life, and not something you do in your spare time or after you have reached your personal goals. So welcome to this year of paying our rent for living. It's a challenging but really exciting time to be here. And I hope as you're getting from this meeting and the meeting in your programs and departments and with your interactions with faculty and other programs outside of McCormack, that we are a community and a family who struggle together and support one another together to reach the goals of public service to create a better world. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your coming out today. And we'll see you as the year progresses. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Exactly. Ending with our musical interlude. Thank you, Kiki, for that.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We all a part of God's great big family. And the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their life will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day. So let's start giving. Oh, there's a choice we're making. We're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall. Well, let's realize, oh, that a change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving.
That was awesome. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Jack.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, everyone. It's great to see everyone.
Yeah, great to see everyone. Have a great day and great start of the year.